How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Coach Javi here. Welcome back to the channel. I haven't done a Tactics Corner episode in a little bit of time, so that's what we're going to be doing today. Today's topic is regaining possession of the ball. A lot of people like to do a high press. Some people like to defend in a low block and look for the counter attack. There's different ways to do it. Some coaches like to cut off the passing option. Some coaches like to cut off the passing lane. It's all just based on that specific coach and their philosophy and their tactics. So today I'm going to show you guys two scenarios. These are games from Detroit City FC back in 2019. I'll play the video first and then we'll break it down after and show you guys kind of the tactical breakdown of regaining possession of the ball. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So obviously, if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. If you do like this video, hit that thumbs up button. Obviously, all of that ends up helping the channel to make it grow and reach a bigger audience, and it helps Coach Javi pay his bills. So first clip I'm going to show you guys is against Windsor back in August of 2019. So the very first thing is obviously the recognition of trying to regain possession, whether we're going to press or whether we're just going to find the right time to win back the ball. In this situation, I think it was a little bit earlier in the game, so trying to start off with a high intensity, a high pace. So the first thing you'll notice is as soon as we lose the ball, James, who was the player who passed that ball forward, starts to come forward a little bit, close down the space. When they play that first person, not only does he immediately press to try and close down that space even more, but you'll see that the way he shapes his body or the way he curves his run eliminates the only pass that player has going forward. So the only option that player has is to play it out to one of the fullbacks. So as he takes his touch forward, what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate the pass going back so that they can switch the point of attack. So we're trying to cut the field in half, force play to be a little bit more predictable, and allow us to create a trap that eventually lets everyone know that this is the time where we want to win the ball. Makes it easier, less of an opportunity that they can break the press and get in behind or create some dangerous opportunities from that. So the good thing that Tendai is doing there is he's inviting that play to come forward down the byline because he knows that, again, the line is like an extra defender, and because he's got an extra center back behind him there who can help him in a 2v1 situation. Plus, that's where the limited options are, and there's really nothing for them to create from that side. So Tendai picks his moment, picks the ball away from him, and now we've regained possession. It just depends on what side of the field the ball is on, how high up the field it is, whether we want to press out to the wings or whether we want to force play into the middle, regain possession in the middle so that we're a little bit more dangerous going forward. So unfortunately in this play, we didn't do a good job of keeping the ball after we regained possession, and that's probably the most important part. If you're going to win back the ball, you're going to try and do your best to keep it so that you don't lose it again. So we tried to go forward. We pretty much made the same mistake that they did, and then we ended up losing the ball. They ended up coming back, and ultimately it was a throw-in for them. But just to show you guys a little bit of the tactical component of how we force play onto one side, we cut the field in half, and by the way we shape our body or the way we curve our runs, we're forcing play and we're making play predictable. The next clip that we're going to break down is from our game versus FC Indiana on June 7th of 2019. So one of the most important things for this one that I want you guys to look at is our defensive positioning. So oftentimes when we have the ball in possession and we're going into higher areas, typically the center backs or the back line tend to fall asleep a little bit, and they leave the attackers who are there a little bit too open, so that when we do lose the ball going forward, those guys become outlets. They can receive to their feet in between those gaps, and now they've bypassed a few of our lines and they're dribbling forward at the defender. So what we really like to focus on is making sure that defensively we're in a good position to try and prevent prevent a counterattack. When we have the ball moving forward and our center backs aren't directly involved in the play, they're trying to pick up one of the attackers. And we always go +1 in the back just to make it a little bit safer. So if there's 2 attackers that they've left up high, we bring back another player, whether it's a central midfielder or whether it's a fullback, and we make it a 3v2. If they leave 3 up front, then we bring back another one, and it should always be 4v3. So we have the numerical advantage from a defensive standpoint. So this one, when we lose the ball, Max forces down the line away from the rest of their players. So it's a very smart move, because if he forces in the other direction, they either played back to their goalkeeper, they played back to one of the center backs, and then they're able to switch the play. So he forces away, forces down the line, and you'll notice that that player has no outlets going forward. So the only thing he can do is boot the ball forward and try to get it to one of the attackers. So again, going back to the defensive positioning, you'll see Musa is nice and tight on that player, so that the moment the ball comes in, he's able to intercept it, get there first. If Musa is even just a few yards away from that player, thinking that he's got him marked, and that player gets to that ball first, Musa's going to arrive a little too late. He's going to be able to turn him, and now it's a 2v1 situation for the attacker. So it's very important that the defenders know that they have to be touch tight on those players, and it allows us to win the ball. So as you can see, Musa goes in, intercepts the ball, and then we try and keep possession a little bit, and it allows us to get another opportunity, which eventually is a crossing opportunity, goes out for a throw-in. But as you can tell, there's very, very low risk of a counterattack just because of how well we are positioned. So I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to get into too much detail, because obviously this all depends on the tactics of your team and how you want to play, how you want to press. And oftentimes people forget that each situation is different. So depending on where the ball is, also how good the other team is, what some of their strengths and weaknesses are, is how we're going to press and how we're going to dictate how we want to try and control the tempo of the game or control possession of the ball. We don't always high press. I know a lot of teams that try and high press the entire game. Whether it works out or not, that's just part of their philosophy. I think we try and pick the right times to go. The most important thing when you're trying to regain possession of the ball is everybody has to be on the same page, because oftentimes what happens is 2 of the forwards will go and try and high press, and then the rest of the team will stay back, and then it's very easy for the opposition to try and play around them. And oftentimes, if everyone is on the same page except one player, that's going to provide one outlet for the other team to try and break that press. And especially when you're high pressing up the field, if they're able to break that press, it becomes a very dangerous opportunity for the opposition to get in behind and to create some goal scoring opportunities. So the biggest things from both of these situations is your defensive positioning prior to losing the ball. That's probably the most important. If you're not set when you have possession of the ball, you're just going to be playing catch up when you do lose it. So in possession going forward, how are we already thinking about preventing a counterattack opportunity? The other thing is making sure that we never run straight onto the player. When we're pressing, we're forcing always in one direction. So typically you want to force where there's a little bit of support. So if you know you have another one of your players on this side, then maybe you want to force in this direction. Or if you know that the line is pretty close, you can always force to the line, because the line acts like another defender and they're going to run out of space to try and play. So forcing to the line is also good. Again, situational. Some teams like to force so that the ball goes in the middle. If they can win it in the middle, then they have a good opportunity of going forward and creating a goal scoring opportunity, because obviously the goal is always in the middle, and sometimes you're just going to have to force out wide. After we've decided where we're going to force and how we're going to start splitting the field or cutting it in half, then we want to create a trap. So creating a trap lets the team know when we want to go and press and actually win the ball. So like I've told you guys before in previous videos, that if it's a 1v1 situation, you just want to delay long enough for your teammates to come into support. Once it becomes a 2v1 or a 3v1 for the defensive team, that's when you can go and take the risk to try and win that ball, because you have a little bit of support. Finally, just making sure that we're making smart decisions after we regain possession of the ball, because it doesn't matter if we win the ball back if 2 seconds later we're just going to lose it. So you have to be smart and realize that if you're in a good position to go forward, you can go forward, but if not, then let's try and build something through a few good passes before we end up going forward. But oftentimes in the transitional moments, when we do regain possession or when the ball is 50-50, that's when it's a little bit more dangerous, because both teams aren't set. So just think about those things. Those are just some quick tactics that we've implemented. But yeah, I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys learned a thing or two. And if there's any tactical topics that you guys want me to cover in the Tactics Corner series, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to try and make a video and explain as best as I can. So I'm sure there's going to be a few comments of people saying this is how we do it, or maybe this is how it should be done, but really it's all just preference. There is no one right way to do things in football. Everybody's got a different philosophy, and as long as it works, then obviously you're on the right path. So that's it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, and adios, muchachos.